Top of the morning to you, Whitmer Project. So this thing crossed my timeline on social media. I had a couple thoughts on it. So my question is, if you aren't willing to teach your kids the faith, how much faith do you really have in it? How much do you really believe in what you claim you believe in? That sounds harsh. But hear me out. We all want what's best for our kids. We all want, we don't let our kids touch a hot stove saying that, they have to experience it and decide for themselves if they want to touch it or not. No, you lay out the guidelines of what you know and hold to be true and what's best for your kids. Now, not saying that they'll hold the faith the rest of their life, or they will or won't, I do believe if you raise a kid up in the faith, it's there. They're not rejecting something they don't know about or haven't heard about. Like, that's the most you can do, But for ones that are actually opposed to raising their kid up in the faith, how much do you really believe? Like, if you truly hold that the only way to have salvation is in Jesus Christ, and it's not a game to you, and you really believe this is how God intended, and this is the loving God of the universe and things of that nature, how much more would you want to share that with them and expose them to that and teach them that? Like, if you're iffy about it, that's one thing. I get it. You still, if you're still more on the side of, I think this is true, you still want to share that with your kids before anybody. I mean, I have a hard time seeing that person even would want to evangelize their neighbor. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll tell my neighbor some outright lie before I do it to my kid. Like, I'm trying to set my kids up with the best that I can and the things that I know and hold to be true. Like, example, I talk about my coworker with this, separate topic, but it kind of relates. As a black man in America, I know I'm going to have a talk with my son about racism, the way you act around cops. And I'm going to have to sit him down and really talk to him. Like, I don't care who your friends are. I know a lot of black people who have white friends. And the way, no offense, but the way white people talk to cops is not how we can talk to cops. It just isn't. So I have to have that conversation with him. Why? Because I value him, and this is the truth that I've come to know and my culture historically has seen play out. I'm not setting you up for failure. I'm not going to have you running around here learning things that, are to your detriment. And then this tweet actually, it makes the assumption that other worldviews aren't attacking and coming after your kids. So, let's be honest, like, if you try to play the neutral role, just know no one else is neutral. Just know that. When they go to school, that school district's curriculum is not neutral. And I'll say that for this one reason. There's a solid case for intellectual design in regards to the universe. Now, you can hear the evidence and still disagree with it and think everything happened by chance, but it should be presented in regards to history of the earth and things of that nature. It should be presented as a reasonable option. And notice I said intellectual design. I didn't even throw in there the Christian method or mode. It's just an aspect of this is a system that logically is held by a lot of people and historically has been held. So they have their own worldview, Like, we have schools now pretty much denying gender. That's a word. Like, biology says boy, girl. Double X or XY chromosome. But due to the worldview of a lot of people in power, it's to the point now where a teacher, they don't know what to call a kid. Like, should I send him to the office or her to the office? How do I fill this form out? I mean, he stands up and pees, but I don't know if yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not neutral, and you shouldn't be neutral when it comes to your kids. Period. Like, it's just amazing. And, you know, like this person who tweeted this, I presume holds to the Christianity. I mean, it sounds like it from her bio, you know. So it's just amazing to me. It's like, how far do we take this, man? Like, don't teach your kids what you hold to be the most important and foundational truth to ever happen in the history of the world. You know, like, you're over here praying to God and things of that nature, and your kid's like, yo, what are you doing, Mom? Oh, don't worry about that. One day when you're old enough, you'll figure it out. Yo, what? You know, do you only say grace over your food, not their food? You know, God, thank you for my portion. Please bless and keep it, you know, safe, and thank you for the food for myself. I don't really care about no one else at the table's food. Yo, that's on them. They'll come to their own understanding and bless their own meal. Like, do you have 20 prayers at Thanksgiving? Everybody do their own thing? Like, how much does a person really believe if they really can confess that teaching my kid the faith is detrimental? What? On a serious note, people should know that God's not neutral to your child. He's not. That's a gift God gave you. He's not neutral, so you shouldn't be neutral. That is a little blessing, a bundle of joy that God delivered for your care and your shepherding. And you're dropping the ball if you think that you being neutral and leaving them open to false truths, false beliefs is what's right. You're not doing your job, you know. Personally, and this is my call, I would never say this in definite terms, but I think a person will have something to answer for that, you know. I think you have something to answer for, because God's opened your eyes, and for you not to take care and shepherd one of the most dearest treasured gifts God can give you by neglecting their spiritual nourishment isn't a light thing. I don't want to get all serious on here, you know what I'm saying? But that is something to consider. Some of her other items on there, I mean, I can see how people could agree with, but I mean, you really can't take a hard stance on it. Like she said, don't threaten your child with religious control. Like, I'm going to tell my kid murder is wrong because God said so. You know, like, it's wrong because God said so. Period. Like, and what's the threat? The threat is, yo, hell's a real place. It's a real thing. You know what I'm saying? The afterlife is real, and you don't, yo, if that's a threat, it's a threat. I'm just telling them the truth. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not to mention jail. Don't rob banks because you'll go to jail. That's a threat. That's a threat. You're going to go to jail. I'm talking about something that lasts a lot longer than your 25, maybe parole shot. You know what I'm saying? So it boils down to me is how much do you really believe this stuff to be true? You know, because we're talking about the eternal. We're talking about stuff dealing with your soul. You know, and I just don't get it. Like, the person you love the most, you're not going to reveal things that you find true spiritually. Like, I guess the individualism in America wins, man. Just do what's best for you and hope for the best for others. Anyhow, Wittenberg Project. God bless. Have a good day.